Welcome everybody to the May Power Hour for Renewable Heat Now. I'm Lisa Marshall, the Director of Advocacy and Organizing with New Yorkers for Clean Power. And we're really excited to see all of you here tonight. We're just getting a critical mass here. So let's just give folks one more minute to get on and we'll get started. We have a really fun evening planned for you and just appreciate you taking time to be on Zoom on this beautiful May day when you might want to be out in the garden or doing something else. So thank you for spending an hour with us here at Renewable Heat Now. And while we're waiting, just pop your name and your location and your favorite way to celebrate in the chat. If you didn't bring with you a bubbly drink to celebrate our exciting wins, then run to the kitchen now and grab a seltzer or something else and have it with you so that we can drink a toast together. We're so excited to celebrate with you. Okay. Thanks to the whole crew here. I'm hosting tonight along with my colleague Anshul Gupta from New Yorkers for Clean Power, as well as the brilliant and amazing Liz Moran from Earth Justice and Andra Lemanis from Agree New York. And we will be your hosts tonight. Yes, non-bubbly decaf tea counts, of course, Jane. Anything that makes you happy makes us happy. We're happy. We're just excited to have you here. Okay. Wow, we've got 68 folks on the call. Hello, everybody. So without further ado, let's just get started and advance to the next slide. So here's our agenda for tonight. The welcome, which we just did and are still doing. Then we're going to celebrate our wins in the budget together, which is very exciting. And then the highlight, I think, will be special guest, Senator Liz Krueger from New York City. She is the prime sponsor of the New York Heat Act and just an all-around champion for the climate and for progressive policy in New York. And then we can't wait to have her present to you tonight. And then we're going to go into taking action because we have only a few weeks left this year of the legislative session and we have a lot we want to get done and we can't get it done without all of you. So we're going to be taking action and then we'll end right on time at 8 o'clock. So let's go to the next slide, Angela. Okay. So we have a lot to celebrate tonight, and we're really excited to do that with you. And so actually, Anshul, if you would unshare your screen and let's all have a chance to see each other, because we are going to celebrate the power that we have built. Oh, I look frozen. Am I frozen on your end? Okay, I'm frozen on my end. How terrifying. Okay, so raise your glass and drink to the passage. New York is the very first state in the whole nation to pass into law a law that says new buildings will no longer be built with fossil fuels. Cheers. Cheers. Oh, that is a good drink. Okay. It's actually really, really exciting. And we could never have done it without you. But I just talked to a new organizer who said they were told there was no way this bill was going to pass this year. And how did we do it? Well, that is a hard thing to say. We did a lot of different things, and it's hard to say how we did it. But we had an amazing group of allies, friends across the state. We had supportive legislators. We had supportive organizations. We had really punchy policy papers that supported our goal with science and with logic. and with good messages, and we got it done. So, and most of all, we had all of you. So if you wrote an email to a legislator to get the All Electric Building Act passed, I want you to just put the thumbs up reaction if you know how to do that on your computer, or you can just put your thumb up. Look at all those thumbs. Look at all those emails. Okay, put your thumbs down. If you made a phone call in support of the All Electric Building Act, do the hand clapping or the thumbs, but I will do the hand clapping for that one. So, oh, look at all those phone calls we made. Remember all those phone relays? One after another after another? Okay, fantastic. Okay, if you met with a legislator, either on Zoom or in person, to talk about the All Electric Building Act, put the heart emoji in your little square. Oh my gosh. Look at all this people power. It's amazing. Okay. If you attended a press conference in your city or town or a rally in Albany, put the wow emoji. Oh my gosh, look at all these people who mobilized to win the All Electric Building Act. This is amazing. How about if you help to publish or write or get published an op-ed or an LTE supporting the All Electric Building Act? How about the celebration emoji for that one? Look at all those op-eds. Look at all those emojis. This is quite amazing. So now I hope that that person who asked me how we won saw this, because that is how we won the All Electric Building Act. We built all that incredible power, and we just became a force that could not be stopped. And you know, we had a lot of ups and downs. We didn't get everything exactly as we wanted it, but it was historic. It was breathtaking to see our bill and the win that we had on the front page of the Washington Post, not the New York Times, of course, but at least the Washington Post. So that was good. And it's all thanks to you. So I'm going to have another sip of my drink and drink it to toast to all of you and all of us together and this amazing win. Okay. We also got some other goodies in the budget for climate. If you were on the Power Hour last month, you learned about the Upgrade New York program, where we're going to try to fund a bunch of thermal networks at state-owned facilities. We didn't quite get that, but we got some pieces of it. And we got some commitment from the governor on funding more electrification of low-income homes and weatherization of low-income homes. There's some good things in there. It was definitely not everything we need. It was definitely not everything we asked for, but we absolutely were heard and we absolutely were felt. And the leadership knew that they needed to do something because of everything that we all did together. And I hope you all feel really, really proud, because you should. So the work, however, is not done because our number one bill that we need to pass this year is Senator Krueger's bill, the New York Heat Act. This law, when it's passed, is going to help us transition off of gas in a way that is affordable and equitable and planned. It is going to make us not have to keep paying our money to build new gas pipelines, which right now is happening all around the state. New gas pipelines are being put in, even though we know that we need to get off gas as rapidly as possible. And to add insult to injury, who's paying for that? All of us. And even worse, it isn't tax money that pays for it. It's money on your utility bill. So the lowest income New Yorkers, those who can least afford it, those who are most impacted by the climate crisis and the energy crisis, are the ones paying for these new pipelines to go in. It's an absolute travesty. It has to stop. And our guest speaker tonight, the amazing Senator Liz Krueger, knew that it had to stop, and she said, let's write a bill and make it stop. So I'm going to read can we put the slides back up, and then we'll unslide, and I'm going to read my little thing here. Okay. So State Senator Liz Krueger was, whoops, it knocked me out of my notes. State Senator Liz Krueger was first elected to the New York State Senate in 2002 and is the chair of the Senate Finance Committee. You guys, that's a very important committee if you didn't know. Senator Krueger is a strong advocate for tenants' rights, affordable housing, improved access to health care, social services, and more equitable funding for public education. She has made reforming and modernizing New York State's governmental processes, electoral system, and tax policy central goals of her legislative agenda. And as a legislative leader on environmental sustainability, Senator Krueger was central to passing New York's plastic bag ban and worked with State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli to implement a plan for divesting the state pension fund from fossil fuels. By the way, I met with him on that and he didn't want to do it. So well done, Senator Krueger. She is the prime sponsor of the New York Heat Act, as well as the Climate Change Superfund and the Stop Climate Polluter handouts, and the Tropical Deforestation Free Procurement Act, which just passed the Senate for the first time last month. So without any further ado, welcome. And we're so happy to have you here, Senator Krueger. So Anshul, oh, it was supposed to be the slide with her face on it. Oh, well, okay.
Okay.
So let's get you up here.
Great. Thank you, everyone. So first off, yes, big hand of applause for all of the advocates and activists in this state. Watching you grow as a power base in Albany has been delightful. So I used to say, oh, there were like 5 environmental groups I could reach out and talk to in New York State on different issues. Now there are hundreds and hundreds of you as organizations representing thousands and thousands of individuals who do contact elected officials all the time, who hold strong, who help us write legislation, who help coordinate between the legislative side of things, the legal side of things, the science side of things. It's just been such an amazing opportunity to get to know phenomenal people who are all in this together, because we understand there's no way around this. There is, as young people said to me years ago, there is no planet B. We've got to save this one. And we know we're decades behind where we need to be, which is no excuse for doing nothing, which some of my colleagues still think is the right answer. Just do nothing, it'll all be fine. While the rest of us and everyone on this Zoom know, hello, it is just the opposite. We have fallen so behind the targets we must reach that we have to do double duty, triple duty to get there. So I am so proud of the work you all did to help us pass the all electric buildings bill this year, the Build Public Renewables bill this year, hopefully my Heat Act in the next month. I'll get back to that in a second. But I really just do want to applaud all of you for responding and so effectively and so fast. I mean, something else you should take enormous pride in is literally in a matter of like 2 days, you successfully killed this horrible draft bill the governor was putting out there that would have actually wiped out all of the efforts of the CLCPA and its commitments, literally cut it apart almost overnight. And the word got out, and then it spread so rapidly, and organizations jumped on board so quickly and overwhelmed the people who were trying to get this done, which were, by the way, utility companies, that everybody had to run the other direction from that bill. And I believe we will never hear of that bill again in Albany. So that is also an enormous victory. And again, I've been in Albany 21 years. I've lost a lot of fights. I've won a few fights, but I will reemphasize always, when you stop something really terrible from happening, you actually can claim that that might be your biggest success ever, because there's always the pull and the tug of what direction are we going to go as a state or a country or a planet. And so you need the both proactive, moving us forward, but also to be able to be effective also in reacting to the pushes against us. So I really do think that the advocacy community in New York State around environmental issues and climate issues have proven your stuff in an extraordinary way this year. And of course, we're not done. And of course, we need to do more. And we wish we had been able to get further. But I just think everyone deserves a big pat on the back and the drinking of the bubbly, whatever that means. I'm actually drinking iced tea, but whatever is your drink. So I was asked to talk a little bit about the heat bill and how I got involved. I got involved in everything involving the environment and climate by talking to really smart people and having them explain to me why we had to do more, why we couldn't let go. And that includes having high school students in my district talk to me about why we had to do away with plastic straws because they were killing wildlife in our oceans. That involved talking to people about the bottle bill and how much more could be done. When I became a senator 21 years ago, it was one of the first bills I introduced, a bill to expand the bottle bill. And I got quite a shock from these incredibly aggressive lobbyists in Albany who were like, who the hell are you? You're a minority senator who's been here 10 minutes. You don't think you can pass something like that? And frustratingly, no, it's taken years and years and years, and we're still discussing expansion of the bottle bill. But it was a fascinating education because there were really just a handful of groups at the time who were even focused on environmental questions and issues and the fights that we have to have and we have to continue to have. So, like so many other things in my legislative life and the bills I'm committed to, I learn information. I see that there's a vacuum that needs to be filled with more people and more legislators getting involved. And then I work to pass bills to make things better because, hello, that's what I think I'm elected to do, make things better. And I don't always know exactly what I'm doing when I set off on these paths, but thanks to people like you and the incredible scientists who are involved who can just lay out for me, well, here's why we have to do this, and here's the justification for it. We have been having more and more success, and we're not allowed to give up. That's basically my view. And my other approach to this, more and more over the years, has been when anyone comes to talk to me about any issue, I say, okay, I know you're committed to your issue, and I am too, and it's critical that we work together, but guess what? You have to put another issue on your plate. You have to put climate change and saving the world on your agenda because nobody can pretend it's not their responsibility. And we're not going to get this done until everyone walks into every room and says, okay, now what are we going to do next to save our planet? So whether they're coming to talk to me about education, I go, oh, you were concerned about kids. We got to save the planet for the kids. Yeah, we want them to be educated, but we want them to have a planet. People come and talk about healthcare. It's like, oh, all the new diseases that are correlated to climate change. We got to talk about climate if we're talking about healthcare. I can just go on and on. There's no issue that this issue actually isn't bigger than, and also interacting with. So I don't think I need to tell you about the heat bill because I bet every one of you can probably cite the information better than I can, even though it's my bill. But again, can you believe that in the 21st century, we are still force subsidizing the building of gas lines when our state law actually mandates that we have more gas lines built and attached to any building in New York, and that you, the consumer of energy, have to pay for this through your utility bill. And the estimate is that over the last 5 years, New Yorkers through their utility bills have paid $1 billion to continue to build gas pipelines the last 100 feet into buildings at the same time as we're working to make sure we get off of gas and oil. We don't even allow new buildings to be built with gas systems, the great all electric building law we just passed. Why the hell would we continue to have a system where utilities are continuing to build these gas lines into buildings that won't even be allowed to use them? I mean, that's really crazy. I've even had utility companies tell me, well, that electric stuff sounds fine, but you need the backup plan, so we just have to build the gas lines anyway. Well, no, we actually don't. And it would cost us beyond a fortune. And even $1 billion, which I think to all of us is a lot of money. They don't think it's such a big amount of money. Imagine if that $1 billion was instead being used to help us transition off of oil and gas, was being used to support lower income utility payers who really don't have the money to pay the costs of all the realities that they must face in their own apartments and homes. If we use that money to provide assistance to speed up our movement into mass transit, electric buses, electric vehicles, just on and on. But imagining that we're putting $1 billion in every 5-year period into something that we're working our asses off to stop doing completely. So again, anyone who reads this bill or understands what it's actually doing comes up with very few reasons to oppose. Having said that, I tried hard to get it rolled into the budget, as we did with the electric buildings bill and the build renewables bill. With the Senate, I was very happy to say supported putting it into the one house. We needed a little more push from the Assembly. That's what our assignment is now, between now and the middle of June when we finish session. We want to help our friends in the Assembly get this bill to the floor of the Senate and Assembly. And it's just common sense. That's all I can say. Is it crucial? Everything's crucial. But timing wise, why would we continue to allow consumer money to go for this no purpose assignment that actually helps us go backwards as opposed to forwards? And again, because you all are so good at your jobs, convincing us what we need to be doing in New York, I'm really hopeful that in this very short period of time, you can help us move this bill through both houses. And I do believe if it passes both houses, the governor will not veto this, because how will she explain vetoing this bill? I don't think she can. So we need your help. Get this bill to the floor, get this bill passed in both houses, and then Kathy Hochul will have two options: sign the bill into law or veto the bill. And I just don't see a storyline where she comes up with a reason to veto this bill. So I'm going to stop and take a few questions.
So folks, go ahead and put your questions in the chat and we will read them from there. And thank you so much, Senator Krueger. There is actually a new gas pipeline going in Yates County, because a county building is a brand new building that they're building now, or they haven't even started. They've requested this gas pipeline, and the utilities told the county, we'll give you $12,500 for every person that you can hook up. We're not allowed to solicit the hookups anymore, but if you can do it, we'll give you $12,500. That's $12,500 for each home. That's for out of the pockets of, elderly people barely getting by month to month. They're paying for this. Yes, for every hookup. It's crazy. Okay, so let's take a look at these questions. Paul from New York City says, what will help it get through the Assembly? Is it more co-sponsorships or pressuring specific committee or leadership?
It's always everything. The committees actually mean very little this late in the session because they actually shut down. I think the assembly shuts their committee process down in a week, and everything goes through the leadership decisions about what bills move to the floor. So in both houses, it's always critical to target the leaders. Um, yes, getting more co-sponsors is valuable to show when this bill comes to the floor, there are enough votes to pass it. So in the assembly, one needs to actually show that there would be 75 votes to pass. Oh, maybe 76. It's 150 members. You need 51%. Let's say 76 votes for it to pass, because nobody wants to put a bill on the floor that isn't going to pass if you're the leader. I think that many members of the assembly have been incredibly active in trying to get this bill moved, but seeing if you can get more people to sign on, more information flow to Carl Hasty, the head of the assembly, and senior people. Crystal People-Stokes is the majority leader of the assembly. I know the environmental, committee people are great. I know the sponsor is great. So just more sponsors and more noise around the importance of getting this passed.
Thank you so much for that. We've mostly been talking about the gas transition aspects of this bill, which will keep us from the so-called utility death spiral, but there's also an essential affordability piece for low to moderate income New Yorkers. Do you want to just talk about that briefly, Senator?
So we want to make sure that as we are transitioning and as we are all trying to come up with as rapidly as possible the alternative energy, the truth is, I'm confident that alternative and renewable energy sources will prove to be less expensive, not just in the long term, in the medium term. But on the immediate level, there is real concern that lower income households won't be able to pay for the transition to a new system for heating, primarily for heating in most of the state. And so we need to invest money in making sure that they actually have the funds to do so. We need to invest money to make sure that in low income communities, even when they're renters and not responsible for upgrading their heating systems, that the utility costs don't grow so fast for them that they find themselves in crisis facing utility cutoffs. So yes, not just this bill, but a variety of things we've actually implemented and are trying to implement is a real commitment to make sure that lower income New Yorkers are provided with the resources and the tax credits and the supplemental funding they need to make sure that they don't pay such a high price for what we all have to do, that they are unable to meet the targets or actually unable to keep their lights and their heat on. So there's a variety of different programs, some in heat and some separately, to provide supplemental monies to assist our low-income New Yorkers.
Thank you. It's it's a bit ironic that, you spoke earlier that we had to beat back the change in the methane accounting, et cetera, and that was supposed to be for affordability. Well, your bill has explicit affordability provisions and no one's talking about that. Well, we are, but
Exactly.
certain
And
people aren't.
also, look, we know that utility companies are spending a huge amount of money lying to people,
Right.
lying to people about this actually being a problem at all that needs to be solved, lying to people about the fact that that their costs for heating and lighting their homes will become so expensive if any of this happens that basically the world will collapse. Now, that's not true. The scientists show us already, and the economists show us already, that the cost per kilowatt hour with renewable energy is actually already less expensive than using gas and oil. So they used that argument for years, and everybody would sort of go, uh-oh, yeah, it is a little bit more expensive, but we just have to get more science involved with coming up with new models and more of an industry involved, and the prices will come down. Well, guess what? They have come down. They actually are cheaper than oil and gas. So we have to stop letting the industry for oil and gas get away with lying to people that they're their only hope because they can't possibly afford to participate in renewables, because that's absolutely not true.
Thank you for that. I'm going to just give you a last question, which you may not be able to answer, but a couple of people, including somebody who I know is a constituent of Ken Zabrowski, knows that this in the assembly is going to the corporations committee next. And we're anxiously waiting to see the schedule for next week to see if it's on the agenda. And wondering if you have any insight to that.
So I don't necessarily, again, I'm in the Senate, so I don't really know the micro details for the assembly. I will tell you a reality. Sometimes the chair of a committee tries to put a bill on the agenda and then is asked by leadership not to. So I don't know the details of whether that might be a storyline in the assembly. I think it is sometimes. So even if it's not on the agenda, don't give up hope. And if a chair tells you they tried and failed, believe that that actually can be true. There's almost no all-powerful committee chairs. Sometimes I get called a powerful committee chair and I sort of want to laugh and go, yeah, not that much power, just a lot of work. But so just because it might not show up in the committee doesn't mean that all hope is gone, because huge numbers of bills move through the leadership process to the rules committee to the floor, even if you're skipping the regular committee process.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap up, because one of the things that can make bills move is a very strong showing of public support. And we have just recently coordinated with your office to have a mobilization to turn out to support this bill on Tuesday, the 23rd. So we'll see you there, Senator.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you for inviting me tonight. Thank you all for all the work you're doing.
We're so delighted and privileged to have you spend time with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Good night. Thank you. And next, we'll take it away, Liz Moran.
Yeah, huge round of applause for Senator Liz Krueger, who is truly a phenomenal champion on so many important environmental and climate issues and much more. We're really lucky to have her. She's a huge reason we were able to get some really nice wins in this budget. But as you all know, and the reason why we're here tonight is our work's not over. We always have to keep the building. So without a pun there, we have to keep building. We won all electric new construction. This is a huge step forward, but we have to be making sure that we're protecting consumers from the increasing costs of gas right now. And a key way to do that is through the NY Heat Act. So as Senator Krueger just went over, we are in the remaining month of the state legislative session. So we tried to get this bill done through the budget. Unfortunately, it couldn't overcome some hurdles, but our opportunities are not over. So during this last month of session, things start to move really quickly. We have 1 month. Legislative session is currently scheduled to end June 8th. So what we need to be doing in that time is putting pressure on legislative leadership. So that's Assemblyman and Speaker of the House, Carl Hastie, and the leader of the Senate, Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins. We do have some phenomenal allies that we're going to need to work with in the legislature to help push this through. So Andrea and Lisa are going to detail as we go along some different ways that you can help get involved to put pressure on the lawmakers that need to hear it. You heard, some of you already knew this, you mentioned the chat. Right now, the bill has been referred to different committees. So we're hopeful to see this on a Senate Corporations Committee, but if we don't, that's not the end of the world. It can still be moved through the process and brought to the floor for a vote. So what's key more than anything else is making sure that we are pressuring our legislative leaders and making sure that they hear from our assembly and Senate champions as well. So, sorry, I think, there we go. Okay, we've got our timeline up. Perfect. Okay, so you can see here where we are, right? Legislative session, traditionally January through June. We already got through the budget process, but the budget was late. So we have even less time than normal to really organize and move things forward. So we're in this last stretch of session where things start to move fast. And we also are competing with other interests. So we need to make sure that we're really loud and we make it clear. Lawmakers cannot leave Albany without addressing the rising costs of gas. And NY Heat is the way to do it. We're going to address those costs by capping their utility bills, and we're going to start shaping our system away from fossil fuels by giving utilities the legal tools that they need to do that. So I think we can go on to the next slide. So we've got some good momentum here. We have 47 assembly co-sponsors. We want to hit that to 50. So if you haven't called your representative, make sure you call and ask them to get on as a co-sponsor. 50 is a great number to reach, and I think we can do it. 47 is phenomenal. And when you call your legislators to sponsor, also ask them to go to leadership and ask for this bill to be brought to the floor for a vote. If your legislator already is a co-sponsor, that's phenomenal. You should still call them and tell them to go to their leader and ask for this bill to come to the floor for a vote. So those are some key steps that you can help us with to get this done. It's really all about the pressure here. Like I said, you have to make sure that we are getting the message across to these lawmakers that they can't leave Albany without making sure that they're helping us get away from the rising costs of gas. And at the same time, making sure that we can move away from gas in an affordable manner and towards renewable energy.
Liz, that's great. Can you explain why we're focusing on the Assembly more than the Senate right now?
Yeah, so we have a pretty good indication that the Senate would pass this, right? The Senate included NY Heat in their one House budget during the budget process. That's a real strong signal that there is the broad support needed within the Senate to get this thing passed. But they need a partner in the Assembly. They don't necessarily want to pass something unless they know that the other House is going to pass it too. And the Assembly wasn't quite there during the budget process. So this is the body that we need to push more. If the Assembly starts to move on this bill, we know we can have the Senate. So that's why we are really targeting our efforts with the Assembly. The Assembly has also been hit really hard by our opponents in the fossil fuel industry. So we have to make sure that lawmakers are hearing from real New Yorkers and not the interests of the fossil fuel industry and utilities that want to keep us on gas, and make sure that they're actually protecting our pocketbooks, that they're protecting our health.
Amazing. If you look in the chat, there is a spreadsheet that shows which Assembly members are co-sponsors and which are not. And maybe everyone could just take a minute to look at that right now. And you'll have an opportunity in a few minutes to send an email to your Assembly and Senate representatives. But just let's take a minute. Liz, did you have anything else to share with the folks before we turn to the action taking?
No, let's get these actions going to be really important to leverage some political power here. So let's get right into it. Thank you all.
Thank you. That was the amazing Liz Moran, who's the New York Policy Director. Is that right? No, what are you? What is your title?
New York Policy Advocate.
New York Policy Advocate for Earth Justice. We couldn't do this campaign without Liz prowling around the halls in Albany and getting us all the information. She is the inside person to this campaign, or one of them. And we just appreciate her so much. So next we're going to turn it over to Andra from Agree New York, and she's going to lead us through a couple of ways that we can take action in these remaining weeks to turn up the heat on New York heat. Andra, you ready?
I am ready. Thank you very much. I'm Andra, Program Director at Alliance for a Green Economy, and I will share with you some additional ways that we're going to turn up the heat to pass New York heat. There are several. We are planning to host statewide press conferences to pass the New York Heat Act. There is one scheduled for Albany, and we're going to be scheduling them for New York City, Westchester, Kingston, and Syracuse as well. There's a link in the chat where you can sign up for interest in the ones that we've already talked about. And then if there is no press conference scheduled near you and you would like to bottom line one, you could reach out to Lisa Marshall tonight or tomorrow via email at lisa@newyorkersforcleanpower.org. I will put that into the chat. Copy, paste, and there we go. We would just love to have more of these scheduled across the state. Come on, Buffalo, come on, Rochester, come on, Binghamton, come on, Watertown, come on, Utica, come on, you get the message. Long Island. Okay, so next slide. Another way that we're going to turn up the heat and pass New York heat is taking it to social media. We're going to have a portraits of New Yorkers for New York heat. And we have a toolkit that is accessible for folks who have Google accounts and also for folks who don't. So what we need you to do in the coming 2 days is to take a selfie of yourself. You can, if you're a Google user, you can upload it to the form. If you're not a Google account user, you can email it to kim@sanenergyproject.org. Email the selfie to her with your zip code and a short statement about why you need the New York Heat Act to pass. It's a personal statement. It could be because of health reasons. Somebody or yourself has asthma and you realize you need to get off gas for health reasons. It could be economics because the cost of subsidizing these pipelines is just driving you absolutely insane. It could be that you totally know that heat pumps, not pipelines, are the way, and you don't want to keep paying for this outdated infrastructure after we can no longer be using it. So there are lots of statements that you can do. Next slide.
Okay, hold on, here we go.
That's all right, because I'm getting ready to copy and paste this amazing virtual lobby series that New York Renews has set up. They set up about, I would say, 25 to 30 lobby visits for this week and next week. We're about 2/3 of the way through. So if you click on that Action Network link, there are 4 pages of meetings that are still available. Check through those meetings and see if any of them are with legislators who resonate with you. Either you are a constituent or you have some sort of connection with their region. Sign up to attend the virtual lobby sessions. New York Renews is very happy to have our participation. They really appreciate our advocacy on the New York Heat Act, which is part of their climate, jobs, and justice package, along with a bunch of really good other bills. Okay, we're moving on to slide 12.
Do you want to give people a minute to look at
Oh,
that?
great. Yes, let's give people a minute. That way I don't have to say copy paste again.
Okay. And I think they set up over 70 meetings, which is amazing. Some of us have already gone to some of them, and they've let us have a few minutes to talk about New York heat in those meetings. So if you want to attend those meetings just to be the Renewable Heat Now representative and speak about this one bill, New York Renews is excited to have you join. So take a look at that and sign up for an upcoming virtual lobby meeting. You can do it from the comfort of your own home on Zoom. I will go to the next slide.
And as always, we have an easy letter writing campaign for you. Even if you participated in one of our letter writing campaigns earlier this session, this is a brand new letter tailored to this part of the session and what we need to get done. So this letter will go to Governor Hochul and to leadership, Assembly Speaker Hasty and Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins. It will go to your senator and to your assembly member. So you should click on that link in the chat now so that you have it open on your computer. Oh, I also wanted to say, we've been sharing a lot of links tonight, and we will send everybody who registered for this Power Hour an email tomorrow with all those links, so that in case you missed something, you can get to it tomorrow. And then, as always, I'm hoping that you will be ready to respond at a moment's notice for a call-in day, because those have been so super helpful all through the session. And we now have it down to this fine art that we can like say, oh my God, I think we need a call-in tomorrow. And we can actually fill the entire schedule and get 100 calls into our target the next day. And that is all thank you to your responsiveness and to your networks and to your being able to reach out and get more people to participate. And now I'll pass it back to the amazing Lisa Marshall.
Thank you so much, Andra, for all of that. Thank you, all of you, for being on here tonight. I realized I forgot some of the ways that we built power earlier when we were celebrating. One is, did you do a social media action? Like, did you tweet a picture of your cat and ask for renewable heat meow? And I forgot actually one of the most important things. So I think I will add it now. And that is, did you talk to 1, 2, or 3 other people that aren't part of the climate movement and ask them to take these actions with you? Did you reach out and say, this is something I'm working on, it's really important to me, would you send this email? Because that's how we grow our movement. Each one of you reaching out to just 1 or 2 other people. Could be your neighbor, your best friend, your sister, your mom, you know, just somebody that you meet that you happen to get into a chat with and say, hey, I'm working on something really exciting and it's this great campaign. I'd love you to get involved. Would you send this one email? Would you come to a power hour? You know, start with something easy. So I'm going to actually take a minute to ask everybody to send that email. And then I'm actually going to ask everybody to text it or email it to one other person, maybe somebody who's never taken a climate action before, but just somebody you know, some other person in New York, and ask them to take the action too. Because that is how we grow. We can't just win actions with the 59 of us who are still on this power hour. We need hundreds of people to be involved. Even if it's just sending one email. Okay. So I'm gonna just give you a minute to do that. It's fun to watch the, I can see on the email action, the emails mounting up. It's very exciting to see. I see your question, Carol. When your reps are both on board, you have to keep after them because they need to talk to their colleagues and to leadership to make this go forward. There's hundreds of bills trying to get passed the rest of this year, and you want to keep your bill, this bill, front of mind for your reps. Even if they're supportive, they need reminding because there's just so much going on. Anshul, if you're still here, can we put the slides back up? Maybe I'll do it then. Okay. Oh, wait, there we go. And we're looking at the email action now. We see 122 letters sent. So not everyone has had a chance to do it because each one of us, I think it sends 5 letters. So keep sending those letters, please. Okay. So we have one more power hour coming up, which will be the end of this session. And Andra, if you wouldn't mind putting the link to register for that one in the chat. The session is supposed to end June 8th. It may go a little late considering how late the budget was, but we should have a pretty good idea what happened, and we can debrief together and celebrate and, you know, say goodbye and have a great summer. So we can take a little break after this. Well, so we'd love to see you on June 15th, and the registration is in the chat. Please fill out the RSVP for the press conferences, particularly the Albany one. I think what is really going to push the legislators and the leadership to move this bill to a floor vote is if we could get 100 people to Albany on May 23rd. If you think you might be able to go, please sign up, even if you're not sure, just so that you're in the loop about the event as it unfolds. We'd really love to see you. I just am imagining 100 advocates on the $1 Million Staircase holding past New York Heat signs with Liz Krueger directing us and cheering us on. And I think that could be what we need to make sure that that we're moving this bill forward, because I think that there may be some legislators who think, oh, we passed all electric and that's it for this year and we've done enough. And we need to show them, no, this isn't enough. We can't just let new gas pipelines be built willy-nilly and not do anything to protect people from the spiraling costs of the energy system. That must be stopped. And this is such a fundamental bill. The social media toolkit that Andra shared with you, there, she's putting the links back in the chat. It's going to just take a few minutes to take a selfie and write a little sentence or two and submit that, and we'll roll those out on social media for you. And we're excited. And that letter campaign. So fill it out and also share it with others. And that's really all we've got for you tonight. We're so excited to see all of you. We're so, site can't be reached for what? And the Albany press conference. Let's see. We were going to use this Google form to sign up. Let me share this Google form with you. We don't know the date and the time and the place of all the press conferences. So if you could just fill out this Google form and take a minute that I just put in. Oh, thanks, Sandra. You beat me to it. If you put that in the chat, that would be fantastic. Mark, I agree. The zombie gas hookup policy must end. I think that would be fun to do a social media thing on that. Let's unshare, Anshul, the slides, or let's do the last slide. That's fine. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate everybody. This is such a fantastic campaign. Some of the nicest, smartest, kindest, most collaborative, most creative, most energetic, most fun, most just wonderful human beings that in the whole state of New York are working on this campaign. Every day that I get to work with all of you is a good day. I couldn't appreciate you all more. Oops, there we go. Oh, don't ever forget you are awesome. I was going to finish out by telling you the funniest story. So, Senator Brian Kavanaugh as the prime sponsor of All Electric Building Act. His office actually wrote it, and they put out a press statement that wasn't complete, and it went on Twitter. So it just said, "This is great, we're awesome," which was meant to be a placeholder where they were actually supposed to put in the details. So so on Twitter, Brian Kavanaugh went down as saying, "This is great, we're awesome," which, honestly is a great thing to say. It's kind of funny. I'm sure he meant to say something more articulate and was probably pretty embarrassed, but it's true. This is really great and we are really awesome. And this is just such a powerful and exciting campaign, and I'm just a privileged to be a part of it. This is great and we're the best. Exactly. So have a lovely evening, everybody, and I'll see you in Albany on the 23rd.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye.